Good morning, it's Thursday the 10th of May. I'm feeling pretty exhausted after being out all day yesterday, and that whole massive issue with getting home. Basically what happened is that I asked my mum to give me a lift home and she just sort of said no and hung up the phone. Not that she's busy, she just didn't want to have to come out, out of the house because she'd been at work that day. And then I tried to get the bus, but I couldn't understand the bus timetables, and that's something I've always had a bit of an issue with. I was with this really nice girl that I got chatting to and made friends with at university, and she was like a really, really lovely person, and I had a great time hanging out with her. But she's not from England and she's only been here sort of a few months, so she didn't really know, all the details of the bus routes and stuff, obviously, and I couldn't work it out, and I ended up missing the last bus, which left early, and then I tried to get a taxi, but the taxi companies were just terrible. The first one said that they didn't have any taxis that were suitable for wheelchairs, and even though you can take the wheelchair apart, you need someone that's willing to do that, and they need to know how to do it, and there's a certain way that the pieces have to be clipped on and removed, and sometimes the seat jams, and basically it's just a whole massive hassle. So I didn't think a taxi driver would be able to or allowed or willing to do that, so that's why I was asking for the wheelchair taxi. And like I say, the first company said there weren't any. Then the second company said that okay, we'll give you a lift, and quoted me a price of £13, and then I said, oh, by the way, it needs to be big enough to take a wheelchair, and they said at that point that I had to pay an extra £5 or something. Basically there was an extra charge for being a wheelchair user, which I told them was illegal, and my friend was actually recording a little bit of this conversation because she realised sort of what was going on. It's really upsetting when a company discriminates against disabled people and is breaking the law and won't admit it or won't listen to reason. So that company is called Dial-A-Cab, and I wouldn't recommend ever using them because they are discriminating against disabled people in a way that's blatantly illegal, and you can look this law up for yourself. It is obviously illegal and has been since about spring of 2017. So I think Dial-A-Cab are a terrible taxi company, and I'm not going to be using them ever again, and I'm also going to be sending a written complaint and giving them evidence of the legislation and telling them that they need to change their policy. Aside from that, my mum was really angry with me because I just couldn't get home. I kept calling her to ask for advice, and she kept screaming at me and then hanging up the phone because she said she was really tired and she didn't want to have to deal with it, and she wanted to be in control of the situation is what she said. So anyway, I got home in the end because I was just sitting in a pub. It was the only place I could find that was open, in my wheelchair, just sort of crying in the corner on my own. A bit pathetic really, but it was a difficult situation to deal with. And then somebody that worked at the bar, a really nice man, came up to me and said, I can see you're upset, are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help? And I explained what had happened with the taxis, and he called another taxi company called Starline, and they actually did send a taxi that was suitable this time, but I think it was only because he told them he was ringing as a member of staff from that pub that they actually sent the taxi. So I think there's still a bit of discrimination going on with that company, but at least they did, in the end, take me home. So I got back well after midnight and didn't get that much sleep. I'm still really glad that I spent the day with a new friend though. That was amazing, and all the other stress that happened later is nothing compared to you know, enjoying being social and spending time with somebody. So I'm glad I did that, and she did an amazing job on my hair, as you can see. So today things have also gone a bit wrong. My mum took the day off work because she wasn't feeling well after staying up late because of the whole situation with me not being able to get home. Even though, to be honest, if she just picked me up straight away, it was a 20-minute round trip, so she could have just gone to bed then, but you know, it was important to her to make some sort of point. Anyway, enough about that. What happened today was the social worker called me up and said that basically if I move into town near where my university is, all the money I get from the government, the benefits, will completely change, and I'll be getting £400 a month less than what I'm getting now. So basically I wouldn't be able to afford to live if I move, and we've just been going through all this massive heaps of legislation and paperwork, and I'm sending all the paperwork to the social worker, and she's speaking to people at the council and advocating for me and trying to find out, you know, if there's any other way to get round this. But it really does sound as if I can't afford to move, but my mum has also said that I'm not staying here, so it's almost like I can't afford to exist. Like, because of the particular disability I've got and the political situation and the way the government benefits are set up, I'm not entitled to live anywhere because I don't have the money to do so through no fault of my own. And I'm feeling really upset about that, and I just don't know what's going to happen, but I'm sending all the letters and evidence to the social worker anyway to make sure that she's got the right information so that she can speak to the council and the government and try and find out, you know, if there's any kind of loophole, if there's any way around this, because it seems really wrong. But it's because we've had the Tory government voted in and they've been making changes to benefits, and they've been doing it in a really clever way where every time you move house they force you to switch to a new type of benefit called universal credit, and that benefit gives you hundreds of pounds less a month than what you get. And as it is, you're only just barely getting enough to live. It's not like they're giving you too much. They're definitely not. You can barely afford to live. But by changing you to this new type of benefits, it means that they don't have to actually call it a benefit cut, because you're changing to a new benefit that happens to be less, but they've combined all of the money you get in this weird way into a monthly amount, meaning that you can't actually work out what the individual amounts of money are that you get, and you can't work out that you've had your benefits cut, you know, unless you really delve into it like we are now. What's happening to this country and the way that disabled people are being treated in England at the minute, it's just not on really, and there's a lot of places in Europe that are a lot more progressive, and that's really where we need to be going, because we are lagging behind on disability rights. Anyway, I'm just going to try and get into some university work today. I think with all the stress and stuff, it might just be best to throw myself into some work and try and forget about it for now, until some sort of solution comes to mind, if there is one. So, goodbye for now. So I've gone out for a walk to the end of my road, just where the farm is. Just wanted to get out of the house for a bit, even though I'm quite tired. Thought it'd be good to get out in the sunshine. And when I start off walking with the walking frame, I'm walking okay, but then after about 5 minutes, the leg just gets worse and worse. And I kind of want to try and show you what I'm walking like, and also just be interesting for me to see a video of it. So I'm going to try and record that now. The camera is propped up on a gate. Now here's one without the walking frame, just for sort of comparison.